Hello, Emmanuel. How are you? As usual, I'm sure everyone has been waiting for this live stream for past week. That's why we have 500 people already lining up. Oh, sorry, five. Okay, all right. On that note, I'll be right back. Okay, we're very popular. Very popular. Don't be fooled by the number of people that are here. We're very popular. There are probably about 1,000 people watching, but not showing their faces or writings. Just so you know, we're very popular. Shameful. All right. Emmanuel, male, 28, Boston. Hello there. Aman is here. Congo, number 1,000. Okay. All right. See, I told you. Aman is number 1,000. Emmanuel says she's 4. I'm sorry. What? Oh, it says I'm with my daughter right now. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Good news. How long has it been since you've seen her? Ross here. Says, hey, Meran, male 32 UK. Thank you for that. So we are whopping 8 people with 4 likes. I wonder if the other 4 don't like us. Come on, use your fingers. Butterfingers. Don't let it slip off of your hands. Click on the like. That's the cover charge. And we lost one. Shouldn't have said that. Okay, all right. Thompson is here, South Africa. Hey, Marin. Hello, Thompson. Protocol, Thompson. Sian, I believe. Am I pronouncing it right? Sian Thompson. Sian. Isn't that a Singaporean or Chinese origin name? Am I mistaken? Because Thompson is not, of course, but Sian. Anyhow, educate me. But I need the protocol. Gender, age, where are you tuning? Oh, we know South Africa. Aditya Sharma. Indian over here. Hello, Indian over there, but I need to know gender, age, plus where you're tuning in from, which that we know. Aman says 19, male, India. Thank you for that. Ah, Sean. So it's not Sian. So why is it written S-I-A with some hyphen and N? Which language? Is that a certain different language? Oh, it's Welsh, French, Gaelic. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. 18 female. Welcome. Welcome. So it's not Sean, it's Shan then, right? Shan. Xian. Shan. Sian. Sian. Shan. And it's Welsh, French, Gaelic. Interesting. How interesting the world and languages are. 18 female from South Africa. Welcome. Ross says, Meran, can OCD give you hateful thoughts? You don't have to have OCD to have hateful thoughts. We have them every day, every moment, don't we? Don't tell me you're an angel. OCD can give you all kinds of things. So there's no telling what OCD can do. It's a magical, magical state of being. It can really make you do believe in all kinds of things and garbage and nonsense and make you become a puppet. Puppet to the point that you think you are actually that. Not that you're a puppet, you think that the that you are what it is that you're thinking. And that's not you thinking, that's the brain thinking. So in other words, you totally lose all your proper judgments about seeing things and judging them. You instead listen to some entity that has been mounted on top of you, namely brain, and it's ruling you, and it's got nothing to do with you. You're seeing what it does, and you're in contradiction with it, and you see the contradiction, and you're aware of things that it suggests that you're not in line with it, and it's not in line with your values, and you don't agree with it, but somehow you think you gotta believe in it. That's a real control, which you're supposed to be aware of it. And as long as you're aware of it, then you're paying attention to it. Being aware of the deviation of what you are and what being suggested or pushed on you is the attention to know. And when you're paying attention through awareness, then you're actually scot-free, because you're not going to be bamboozled ultimately, because you know there is something that is wrong, and it's not about you. It's about a malfunctioning of the brain. When you separate the brain from you, the awareness, everything else is answered, and you don't have to pay attention to any shit and nonsense in the name of OCD or HOCD or any other OCD, any other CD that is introduced to you via the brain, because it's gone rogue and it's malfunctioning. So you got to reteach it, retrain it, and teach it, be the master of it, be the leader and teacher of it, and retrain your brain, not to believe what the brain says. You are the boss and the owner of the brain, not the other way around. All right. Aditya Sharma, 17 male. Shan says you're correct. OCD latches onto anything. Yeah, it does. Ross says, sometimes I worry that in one of my angry moods, I will do something and regret it forever. This awareness should be your shield from committing to that what it is being suggested through mood or anger or whatever that the brain's shortcoming is trying to use as a remedy to protect the image you have of yourself, the ego. So if you understand between all these ego and the images, there is a you who has actually orchestrated and created these images, and that the you is the most important thing, not the image and not the ego and the rest of it. So you will stop protecting the ego, you'll stop protecting the image, you'll stop protecting all that is you're hoping to be perceived by the others, and you will stick with the truth of you, with the awareness, with who you are, what your values are, how you should behave, and how you should not allow anger to make you harm anyone or do something that you would regret. That is where you come into the picture, not the apparatuses that is part of you and you're supposed to be teaching them and controlling them. Kartus says 30 male India. Thank you for that. Aman says, is it weird that I have a crush? I mean, love feelings towards a mature lady? No. Why? Why would it be? Why? When a lady is mature, is no longer attractive? In fact, there are many mature women in their 40s that they're much more attractive in their physical attributes, fitness, looks, the way they take care of themselves, the way they carry themselves, in their wisdom, knowledge, education, responsibility, reliability, accountability, way beyond much younger, pretty girls. Depends on what it is that your intention is, really, if you're connecting on consciousness level or you're just thinking about age and so on and so forth, rather than feeling and emotion and compatibility and so on. And he says that means quite older than the age I am. Well, almost anything is older than the age you are. So everybody is seems mature woman to you. But you see, just because you're like, I don't know, 17, 18, or 19, it doesn't mean a 22-year-old is a mature woman. It's still a, young woman who's trying to find her way in the universe. So don't be fooled just because you're younger than them, therefore that means they're mature. No, being mature, it's got lots of criteria that you're supposed to be meeting. And see if she meets those criteria to be considered mature. Ross says, I've had a lot of bad things happen to me in my life. Well, join the club. And I think it's affected my brain. That's not your brain, it's just the brain. Happens to be mounted in your head negatively so much that the way I think now is so distorted. Well, then clear it up. If you can tell there's a difference between your values and what the brain suggests to you due to the stuff that has happened to you, then that awareness, which has enlightened you to see the contradictions between suggested behavior by the brain for you and your values, which you identify yourself with, then that should mean that could help you to keep in line and modify it. Bring it back to what makes you proud. Ash says, Mehran, my main man. All right, welcome. Ash says, a new male neighbor with tattoos has moved into the house opposite my girlfriend's, and he looks to be her type. What's wrong with you? She's your girlfriend. That means you are her type. The people around, and what makes people who they are is not their looks or tattoos or not tattoos or whatever else. It's their consciousness. So you so belittle your girlfriend easily, thinking that she's just about what someone meets certain aesthetics that she might be approving of. But that's just part of perhaps what her criteria are. What makes two people, what makes this woman to like someone, is if her consciousness bonds with that person's consciousness. And that has happened between you and her. Why are you so worried about so many other people around in the world that she would be interested in them? They were there before she met you. And this one just moved into that area, and there was the other ones who move in, or she would be meeting other people while she's going around doing her things in life. If it didn't work and it came to the point that she would actually betray you, or she would actually, sever the relationship, so be it. Again, we're getting back to the idea of you're trying to turn temporary to permanent, And that's when the suffering starts. The suffering of most people in this world is because they're trying to turn an impermanent to permanent all the time. Hmm? I made this much money, I want to make this much money next month as well. Suddenly, that becomes a suffering. What if I don't? I have to do more. I'm now nervous because this is almost not happening. That's taking away my chance from making the same kind of money I made last month. Why you do that? I have this girlfriend smile at me. I had this woman smile at me today. I want to make sure she smiles at me every day. That's going to be a chore. That's going to be hindrance on me. Stress. Why? She smiled at me. Beautiful. I take it. Enjoy it. Like I passed by a garden. There was a beautiful rose and I smelled it and it just gave me that feeling of that moment in that time of the day, in that day of life. That's all. Now, if tomorrow I pass by, the rose is still opened up and gives the same smell, and I have the opportunity to smell it, another great opportunity. But if I want to hold to that and stay there all day long, just so that I will have that permanently, then I'm losing chances on all the other opportunities, and I'm wasting my life and my time and suffering for the fact, what if the rain and wind and so on and somebody picks it? You can't control that. And when you think you're trying to control some pleasant moment or event in your life, in fact, that event is controlling you from enjoying life and being balanced. It is tipping you to a direction as if you're in your boat in the ocean, and eventually it will capsize because you're losing balance. You're focusing on that to become permanent. For that, you're losing all other things that were also part of your joy every day. They're gone because you're constantly here. Leave it. Enjoy your girlfriend, and if she has any sense, she will respect her relationship with you, and she would be worried about losing you. Otherwise, it's a one-sided journey, and it's going to be suffering for you all the time. Don't give a shit about that guy moving in. Remember, in the Skype, I wrote you. Remember the story I told you about Jack White. Remember, Jack White was invited by my university when I was a student. He was a billiard champion of the world at the time. And he came, all people, all students were gathered in the pool room. And he said, who wants to play? And this kid that we always knew is a show-off and he's got nothing going for him, but he's just, you know, being in every soup. That's a Persian expression. Says, me, I can play. I'll challenge you. He's an idiot. So, okay. So he's playing, and then Jack White asks him, do you play a lot? He says, yeah, I'm very good. I play. And when Jack White was actually, that was his turn, he said one thing that I never forget, and I don't want you guys to forget it either. He said, I don't care how good you are in the game you play, in this pool game. I don't care if you've been a champion. I don't care how many games you've won. I don't care how good you play. I've got the cue. Meaning what? Meaning it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant how good you play. It's my turn. I've got the cue. I'm the only person who has the opportunity to play right now. So you sit. You could be an expert. I don't care. I'm on the table. I'm on the table. So it doesn't matter if that guy moved in close to there, or she meets someone, or she walks away and sees somebody. You got the cue, meaning what? You're her boyfriend. She communicates with you. She loves you. She likes you. She pays attention to you. Why are you losing all these sight of all these things and you're focusing on some nonsense? That's anxiety. Trying to keep possibly a temporary, but everything is, to permanent, and that's creating the suffering and anxiety for you. Let it go. Know the facts, what's real, and that is you're with her, she's with you. That's all. Now, how long it lasts, don't care. Focus on the moment. then you'll be fine. Slobodan, I read the stuff you wrote here. Don't you realize all what you were saying right now, all this time that you were expressing your worries, but the fact that you're aware of this tells you that you're not actually could be or should be afraid of what you are seem to be anxious and afraid about. Because you're aware of this, and the awareness tells you that you're not that. You are exactly how you wanted it to be. Your values, manners, and morals and principles, as you say, choices, fate, dignity, destiny, everything, even dreams to marry a beautiful girl and have kids. That's what you are. Because if that wasn't there, if you weren't that, you wouldn't be talking about the rest of the stuff that is contradicting to your values. The fact that you're aware of this contradiction means you really don't have anything to worry about. These are thoughts that bombards you because we know it's OCD and HOCD, intrusive thoughts. That's all. And you got to learn that you're the teacher of the brain, and the brain should be retrained and follow you, not the other way around. So what brain suggests, it's a malfunction. You're not supposed to be thinking what brain suggests is what your inclination should be or what you should follow your brain. Brain is an apparatus, no different than your intestines. It farts, you don't question it. But the brain says something, oh, it must be deity, I must follow it. Why? Do you treat the rest of your organs the same? No. Why? Because you've been conditioned since childhood to think that the brain is smart, is intelligent. The brain is you. That the brain is your teacher, your mentor. It's not. Brain is an equipment you've been used to do math and make decisions and do things that you need to calculate, figure out, accomplish, and learn and design and produce and advance your life. That's all. It's an apparatus. But somehow you believe that that apparatus is you. It's not. Eventually, you judge what it suggests. So the power is in vetoes and choices, and only you have that, not the brain. In the experiment that Dr. Leibet did in one of my videos that I've produced that talks about Dr. Speary's experiment, Dr. Penfield from Montreal experience in 1930s and 1960s, and Dr. Owen's experience about the brain, and even in vegetative state, the brain is actually responding, and that's not because the brain is actually responding, because the brain is crushed in an accident. What's responding then? That's something beyond the brain that the brain cannot reach, but it's actually responding even the brain is completely gone. So you're not the brain, brain is not you. You're above and beyond the brain, because even when the brain is totally crushed, there's still intellect and awareness in there. What is that? That's you. That's the mind. In the experiment that Dr. Leibet did, the experiment Dr. Speary and Dr. Penfield did, they even severed the two hemispheres of the brain. Corpus callosum was cut in half, which is a fiber bundle that connects the two hemispheres of the brain through a corpus callosotomy. They separated, yet there was no noticeable difference after that. The epilepsy, that was the reason that the surgeons decided to try the severance of the corpus callosum, so the epilepsy would not travel through the bundle fiber and overtake the brain. So they severed the two hemispheres to stop this spread, and epilepsy did get better, but even though the brain was cut in half, there was no differences between that person. You would think if you cut the brain into half, the person could become two people. But they couldn't see any difference. They had to do some kind of a Nobel Prize study to see subtle differences after the separation of the corpus callosum. Which means, again, you cut the brain in half, it still functions. What's that makes it function? It's not the brain. It's you, beyond the brain. So what the brain suggests is all bullshit, is not you, is an apparatus. You're beyond the brain. So when it suggests in the form of OCD or HOCD and all these nonsense, it's not you. You have your values and you can see the contradiction. You can see the difference in values. You're aware of this. What it's suggesting is not in line with your values. That awareness means you're not the brain. So don't follow, don't be afraid, don't be bothered by these suggestions of OCD or HOCD and whatnot. They are not you. They've never been, they never will be. Brain cannot change your inclination or gender. However it was that you've been born, that's how you're going to be all the time, regardless of what the brain suggests or makes you think that it is. Dr. Libet, he put a bunch of people in the laboratory and he told them, okay, I want you to log when you make a decision, a simple decision, like push a button, and log when you decide, and then you go and push the button. So they logged, for example, and then at the same time when they were logging, he had electromagnetic connections measuring the electromagnetic activities in their brain while they were doing this experiment. So first time they say, okay, when did you decide to push the button? And it looks as, okay, it was minute 10 and second 11. So at minute 10, 11 seconds past 10 minutes on the hour clock, it's logged that they made the decision to push the button. And then when they checked at the same moment, when they had the log of measuring the electromagnetic field in the brain, they saw about half a second before they made the decision to push the button, there was a spike in the brain, which people who were against the dualism from the time of Aristotle 1,000 years ago, that this dualism was introduced, that there's not just atoms and void, that there's either something or nothing, and they believe that there is something beyond the brain. And these people who were materialists, they said, see, the brain does everything. Even before you make a decision to push the button, half a second before it, there was a spike in the brain. That means brain is everything. Dr. Libet says, hey, wait. We had a second part of the experiment. And that was when he asked the same group, make a decision to push the button, and then right after, decide, oh, no, I changed my mind. So I decided to push the button, oh, no, I changed my mind. And they were also measuring the electromagnetic fields of the activity of the brain at all this time. So they now looked at the logs, says, let's say 11 seconds past 10 minutes, the participant decided to push the button. And yeah, there's a half a second before that, there's a spike in the brain. Electromagnetic logged it. But when the person actually decided to veto it right away, oh no, I changed my mind, there was no activity in the brain. None whatsoever. No electromagnetic, no presence of the brain. Brain wasn't even there. Means in your vetoes and choices, where the power is, brain is not even involved. There is something much higher, more powerful, that is actually, that's you who make the decisions. So brain is not you. Brain cannot even reach your intellect, your decision makings. So don't be fooled and don't be bothered by these suggestions of the brain about anything. Your inclination, your sexuality, your gender, your other things that comes to your mind, none of it is you. Understand and believe in science, not the garbage that you hear from others or your own brain. All right. Bitu Barua. Says, hello, Meran. Oh, hello there. First time here, huh? That's a new name, screen name. Says 32 India. And is it, what your gender is, man or woman? 32 India. Shan says, I switch themes, but HOCD is one of my most challenging ones. I know it's hard, but the only way to win is to just feel the anxiety. Don't run from it. Just feel it and let it subside. Goodlands Tube says, in my home, plates and mobile charger, etc., flying in the air after 1 a.m. How is it happening, sir? I gotta see it. Maybe you're doing something that could make you see things flying. Who knows? You know, I can sit here and say, goodness too, my horse flies. I get on a Pegasus and it takes me up. How does that happen? You're going to say, sir, I first got to see that to be able to have an opinion on it. All right. Britu says, how to develop a daily routine and daily habits for better accomplishments of your goals. Well, to begin with, you can look at one project that you've accomplished it successfully and everything went well. Backtrack and see what you did in there. You probably studied, educated yourself about, let's say it was selling a product or presentation. So about that product, learned it inside out, learned what it does for the customer, what the benefits of it is. You were able to present that and show that as far as the customer was concerned to their um, business, the difference that it makes to their business, to their profit margins and market share. You understood the equipment well, you understood how it's made, the science behind it. You could show it on paper, the benefits it will have, how much money it will save them, how much time it will save them, how efficient it will make their company be. You did certain things that your organizational skills plus your knowledge plus your ability to show benefits of that product brought about a certain result and a successful meeting, which led into a successful contract or successful venture. You follow what you did and write it down. I was organized, I was on time, I was ready way before the deadline. I did this, I educated myself, I looked at the competition, I learned about what they're doing, and I was able to be prepared and knowledgeable about what's in the market, what competition is, their prices, their qualities, and their services, and their equipment, and all these and their functions. So all these things that you did helped to succeed in that project. Well, choose all the good things there and duplicate. Create that discipline. This is how much time I need. This is how much preparation I need. For that, I got to get up 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I got to be ready having had my breakfast at, let's say, 7. I got to be in the bus at such and such or be at work at such and such. I got to do my research by this time. So you actually create small windows of a certain task and you bind yourself to do that in that time period. So you're always ahead and advancing because you're meeting your schedules. And I don't know what the success you have in mind is, but that would be pretty much the recipe to find the ins and outs of what you want to accomplish and then prepare for it and then execute it. But beyond that, I don't know the details of it. So you're always welcome to make an appointment with me on mind@seekstruth.com, mind@seekstruth.com, and we can speak specifically on what's concerning you, whether it's OCD, HOCD, breakups, relationships, or business projects, whatever it is that we can then explore it together, one-on-one on Skype. And for newcomers and new clients, when you make a 1-hour appointment at the outset, I will add another hour to it, so we'll have 2 hours, so we can have plenty of time and discuss what's concerning you, one-on-one on Skype. Do you guys actually do promote this channel? Because that's really important. I mean, it's been, a long time that we've been hoping that some of you would actively promote the channel, one way or another. Share the videos you like on your social media, talk about it in the chat rooms. Because look, once a week I come in here. When it was every night, we had a lot more people than 12 here. Sometimes we had 30, 32 people here. So what happened? We know that our content is second to none, but we need participants to also participate in promoting the channel. Otherwise, pretty much we won't be able to reach as many people as we could or help as many people as we could. So I need your help, guys. Don't forget about me when it's not Saturday. All through the week, any chance you get, talk about it. Chat rooms, social media, share the videos. I have short videos, long videos, topics of interest. Do it, please. Otherwise, we'll wither and die. You know that. So eventually one day I say, well, it's not feasible because I gotta, pay attention to other things that needs to be done. If this is not a necessity or needed, or people don't know about it, because we know how valuable this channel is and its content. But it doesn't matter how good a cake you make, how good a cake maker you are. If your bakery is not known, is hidden somewhere, nobody knows about it, well, it won't survive. So, just saying, guys. If we disappear, don't be surprised. All right. Brito says, my problem is that whenever I try to do positive things, I get lost in my thoughts, thoughts of why I should not do the work. This is holding me back. Well, don't answer that thought. Your problem is that you think any thought that shows up, you got to answer it. It's no different than if you're a teacher in a classroom and kids constantly ask all kind of questions irrelevant to the topic that you're trying to teach them. So what are you going to do? You're going to answer. This kid says, I got to go to the bathroom. The other one says, I lost my pencil last night. My doggy wasn't listening to me yesterday. What are you going to do? None of them is about, other than the one who wants to go to the bathroom, none of them is about the immediacy of the problem or having to do with what you're teaching. So what do? You ask everybody to quiet. And if they don't, you ignore them. You keep writing what you're supposed to write on the blackboard, and you teach what you're supposed to teach because that's what you're there for. So often in life, we need to ignore things rather than respond to. But we are being conditioned since childhood that if we're asked a question, I have to answer that. You don't focus on the source of the question and irrelevancy of the question. You focus on the fact that if I want to consider myself smart or prove to whoever is asking that I'm intelligent, I got to answer the question. We're conditioned to respond to a question. You don't have to. Look at all these politicians who are asked so many questions and hardly they ever answer the question. They go to a different subject. Either because the question is irrelevant or either because they don't know the answer. Either way, they focus on what it is that they know and they want to do. I'm not saying politicians are all that smart, but it's a way to show you that you have a choice. Answer, don't answer, change the topic. There are different options. But we've been conditioned since childhood. Teacher asks a question, I know, hoping to get a kudos or a good grade. Mom asks a question, answer. Well, mom and dad, they're different. You know, you're supposed to be listening to them, especially when you're kids, to learn, and they mean well for you. But in most other cases, in school and all that, we've been conditioned to answer, to come to a conclusion, as if every question deserves an answer. It doesn't. And that conditioning has caused you to constantly be paying attention to what the brain suggests. Ignore the idiot, because brain is not an intellect. Brain is an idiot. Idiot in the intellect clothing. You have been duped to think of it as intelligence. No, it's an apparatus. It's a calculator. It's a number cruncher. It analyzes things because that's what it does. It makes thoughts. It conjures up things. It makes images. That's the kind of apparatus it is. And you are the boss of it, the owner of it. You use it to do things, to design things, to figure out things, to calculate things, to learn things, to advance things, to accomplish things, to create products and whatnot. It's a tool. But somehow you've been duped to think the tool is you, and you're supposed to listen to the tool. So when it suggests some kind of a silly things, not in line with your values, you think you got to prove it wrong, as if it's an entity that you're supposed to be satisfying and proving and debating with, as if it's an intelligence. You're the intelligence. You should ignore the idiot and say, well, you don't understand, shut up. Or just do your thing and recognize that it's being nuisance. But you treat it with respect. Why? Because you want to impress your own fucking brain. You want to impress what works for you in this entity. That's how weak you are. You think the brain is more valuable and more intelligent than you. Brain has no intelligence. It guesses everything. It just functions as its job, its mandate, its program is. Make thoughts. And because it makes all kind of ties and its association power is so much, it goes to all kind of tangents, you think it's smart. It's not. It's an idiot. Because if he was smart, he would stick with where your preferences are, how you've been put together in the wombs of your mom, and how you live, how you prefer, what your choices are, and he would not bring interference and contradictions and nonsense to confuse you. So in fact, the brain is the enemy that you should always be on guard for it and train it. Shoo, shut up. Or shoo, none of your business. Don't have to answer. Focus and ignore it. Focus on what it is that you want to accomplish and ignore the statics. That's how you look at it. It's the static making machine. That's all. Nothing more. All right. Where are we? I love singing. Oh, what a interesting screen name. It says, I'm sorry, I had to step away, and I'm not sure if you answered my concern. I actually didn't see any of yours here. It's the first thing I read about you that you're here. I never saw any other question here. I love singing. I don't see anything before this writing here. Emo says, can you ask me some questions about POCD or HOCD before I go to therapy? What questions? What question do you want me to ask you? I don't understand. Emo. Petite Man says, hey everyone. Hello, Petite Man. And he says, hope you're doing well, Mayran. Thank you, dear. Good of you to show up. And Aman says, I had a 40 kind of year-old lady talked with me for many months from herself, I didn't talk. From herself, I didn't talk? She was cool and cute, and I liked her. I tried to ask her about her age or more about her, but she used to deny. Okay. I don't see the point here. Slobodan, this channel is talking about science and talking about so many things to do with the psyche. It has so many different topics: breakups, relationships, how to move on, and all the other things that you have seen in there. And among it, we have topics to do with the behavior and the movement of the psyche. It includes OCD. You know? OCD is a big topic among the people around the world, and almost everybody has had one kind of or another of it. It has a lot to do with the anxiety level and so on. And this is what we really talk about, the malfunction of the brain. So you promote the channel on the videos that you think it's appropriate for, for your community or however it is that could be introduced. Aman says we had great chat. She also detected my little attraction. She forced me to call her, but of social anxiety, but she suddenly stopped giving me shit. I don't know how, and became little rude. I asked her directly. She didn't reply. That is she still want to talk or no? I don't know, man. A lady's in front of you talking to you, you're interested in her, you think she's interested in you, So you comply. You can't say, "Oh, I'm shy, but I want you to constantly come and approach me." Well, she will say, "That's not." She can give you the hints, and then you take it over. If you don't, then she goes away. Okay. I don't know, Aman. I don't know what that relationship was. And so, anyhow, you're 19. You know, what do you have to do with 40-year-old woman? She's beyond your understanding of that echelon. Um, you may understand a 22-year-old, 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 18-year-old. They should stick with that age range. And a 40-year-old woman would prefer a maybe 45, 40, 35-year-old man, at least something that they could have in common on the consciousness level. And I Love Singing says, female, 35, Texas. Oh, howdy. I can speak Texan. Howdy, partner. All right. It says, hello, Mehran. I lapsed on my OCD recovery a few days ago, and I feel like I'm back at square one. So be it. But you're much more experienced. It's like saying, I played tennis today, but I really played shitty, and I think I'm back at my. No, you're not back. You still know how the strokes are, how the footwork is, how the energy forward is, how the balance is. You know all that. Just that you fucked up. Okay, 1 game, 2 game, 3 game, and you will be quickly able to see the steps that you got to correct. So don't worry about it. And says, I feel like I'm back at square one. My anxiety was so high and I gave into a compulsive behavior. I was doing good since mid-February. I sent it, okay, thank you. And says, I'm worried all my progress I did make was for nothing because I gave into compulsive behavior. No. You may actually do that because somehow it's something a little bit overwhelming and you feel like I got to do that. It's like an addict that is trying to go clean, and then, you know, in the old China, when British introduced the opium and they got them all fucked up trying to steal their silver by getting them all addicted to opium, the ones who would figure out that they should come out of it because they're losing their life and their health and their families and everything because spending all their money in the opium houses, they would try to treat themselves. And for the first many days and weeks, it would be very difficult for them to the point that they couldn't take it and they would take a little bit of an opium back just to ease the pain. And then they would wake up again and say, oh, I got to do it right. And then they would become stronger and redo it because they can see how bad it is every time they go back into it. So become more powerful in getting rid of it. And eventually, at one time, they would muster up enough power, mental power, that they would endure the harshness of the physical reactions of not using the drug, and eventually they kick the habit. So in OCD, it's kind of the same. You're addicted. It's a neuroscience of habit that has become a habit for you, and it's very difficult not to do the habit. If you look at the video that I have in regards to the presentation of Dr. Schwartz, based on the experiment that Dr. Anne Grable from MIT had done through her student Carl Smith in regards to neuroscience of habit, that they had rats perform a certain task of hearing a bell, a sound, and go forward, make a left turn, get the chocolate milk, and then a different tone, different sound, they learn to go forward, make a right turn, and get sugar water. And they did that hundreds of times. And they were very efficient in recognizing which tone is chocolate water, which tone is sugar water. And then they did that 1,000 times. And then at this point, every time that the rat was hearing the tone and was going up to the left and getting the chocolate milk, probably in the mind of the rat says, chocolate milk, great. So it would feel good, which would mean dopamine is secreted. So after a while, the rat wasn't necessarily just doing it for chocolate milk. They were doing it for chocolate milk and that dopamine. But when they did it 1,000 times, the rat wasn't doing it just for the chocolate milk or the dopamine. The rat was doing it because it was its habit. It couldn't stop. How did they know that? Because at that point, they introduced a little drug into the chocolate milk that would make the rat vomit, be nauseated. Even so, when the proper tone for chocolate milk would ring, that sound, the rat, knowing that taking the chocolate milk makes it nauseate, would still take it, would still go up to the left, take the chocolate milk, knowing by experience that it's going to make it vomit or feel like vomiting. And it was uncomfortable. Why was the rat doing it? Because it had become its habit. And habit center, goal finding center, reward center. Goal finding center is the sound going, finding the chocolate milk, goal finding center. The reward center, going forward, going to the left, finding the chocolate milk, and then dopamine secreting, reward, the chocolate milk and the dopamine, reward center. And the habit center, they're all in the midbrain in a location called the striatum, all on top of each other. So they're related. They're really working together. So if you follow a certain thing, when you reach that goal, the dopamine is secreted. You feel great, and because you now want the dopamine, not just the goal, you will continue this because of the goal and the dopamine, and dopamine takes over. Then you become addicted to the dopamine, and then you keep going for the dopamine, and that becomes your habit. Beyond the addiction is habit, and that becomes more difficult to get rid of. And this business of yours is neuroscience of habit. You've been doing the OCD compulsion so often that is no longer due to the fact that you have an obsession to follow by a compulsion to feel good. Because every time you had the obsession, you did the compulsion, you felt good, dopamine was released. Next time, and many times after, you're no longer doing the compulsion because of the obsession. You're doing it to get the dopamine. So you're now addicted to the dopamine feeling of doing the obsession, doing the compulsion because of the obsession. And after a while, like the rat, it becomes a habit. No longer you're doing it, the compulsion because of the obsession. You're doing the compulsion to get the dopamine, and you're doing the dopamine because you're addicted to it. And after a while, you're doing all this compulsion, not because of dopamine anymore. Although it makes you feel good, but it's because of the habit. It became a habit. That's why you keep going back to this behavior of the OCD, even though you're on the mend. You're fixing it up. You're aware of it. So your awareness is no longer helping you because you're counting on your knowledge that this is not logical, I shouldn't do it, but the habit is there. So what you now need to do is to focus, because the study shows that when people get into the habit, what helps them to get kicked out of it is when they focus on the effects of that behavior on their health. When you relate that habit to its effect, negative effect on your health, the health will override the habit. And you begin to become stronger because the survival mode and appreciation and the value for your life is more important than anything else. So you got to focus your narrative, your attention to the effect of your behavior on your health. And health being the most important, because if there's no health, there is no life, there is no life, there's no enjoyment of the dopamine or the habit or any of the shit that it is we're involved in. So you now change your narrative to that I value my health and this is detrimental to my health. Different value. Now you will up the game. You have now a different set of tools and arsenal to deal with the OCD, relating it to what it does to your health. And that's what we all fight for in this life, for our health, survival, balance. All right, hope that's helpful to you. All right, Alexander Ored says, hello Meran, how are you? Hello Alexander. Alexander 24, I want to ask which is the best therapy to resolve OCD and intrusive thoughts? Well, you got to ask your psychotherapists. There are different methods, CBT, and there's also ERP, which is the gold standards of the treatment for such things. So ask your psychotherapists. As you all know, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, I don't claim to be one, so therefore these are the questions you can ask them directly. I have shared my knowledge and my research in my videos and in our discussions here, and anything beyond that, if you need to talk to your doctors, please do and ask their opinion, but they have to be specialized in OCD and HOCD, otherwise they won't understand just because they're psychologists. All right. Well, for that emo, you gotta watch my video talking about denial. And this, from what you're telling me, is just a confusion of the brain, and this malfunction of the brain is nothing to do, in my opinion, about denial. It's just the fact that you don't know the difference. But despite of all, the fact that you're aware of the contradictions between what the brain suggests and what your values are, that you can see all these differences, it tells me that it's not the denial. It's basically is your lack of understanding and believing in your brain than yourself. Believing in your brain more than you believe in yourself. Thinking that the brain is you and you're part of the brain, rather than brain is part of your apparatuses, of your entity, like your liver, like your kidney, like your intestine. That's all it is. And you've substituted yourself with the intestine. You're thinking whatever intestine does, you're supposed to understand and follow. No. Your choices is what the brain and the intestine and everything else should listen and follow. Simple. You're confusing yourself all the time and you're really not paying attention to the science of it. So talk to your psychotherapists and don't guide them to one way or another. Let them tell you from your lack of understanding what you should be understanding and focusing on. LBG says, Lindsay, 29, New York, says, hi, I'm struggling with obsessive thoughts about my ex and wanting to look at his Facebook to keep tabs on what he's doing. How do I stop this behavior? Well, answer yourself or ask yourself. Let's say I see what he's doing. What is the train of my action after that? What changes, difference does it make? It's not like he's your boyfriend you're checking on to see if he's truthful or not. He's your ex. So what benefit does it serve you to see what he does or he doesn't? It's like having a binocular and checking your neighbor to see what the neighbor is cooking or eating. What kind of food is it? What does it do to you? What? What benefit does it have to you what the neighbor is eating or choosing to eat? Your ex-boyfriend, stress should be on your attention to the word, to the signal X, alphabet X. It's an ex-boyfriend. It's got nothing to do with you. The reason you check because you haven't understood that there's no relationship between you and this person. The actuality, there is no relationship, but your brain, the virtuality in it hasn't accepted it yet. So your virtuality preference is being supported and is replacing the actuality in the world. This is no different than OCD believers, people who have OCD, because the virtuality, which is not true, somehow has overridden the actuality, makes the person think that this virtuality, this belief should be the actuality or is the actual. They got to do something to it, with it, in the reality, in the actuality of the world. Like the suggestion is that something's going to go wrong if you don't touch that light switch. So they go in the actuality. The virtuality has told them some shit. In actuality, they go and touch that light switch. They think that actuality is going to bring the virtuality to truthfulness, to real life, or avoid it from becoming something. Same thing here. In actuality, there is no relationship. Your virtual imagination is suggesting that you're still with him. So you're checking on him. Why are you believing something that is virtual and trying through actual activities, checking his Facebook and all that, correct it, change it, modify it, influence it, protect it, or whatever it is that you're trying to do? You're trying to give life to a virtuality through your actuality of functions and actions, which has no relevancy to it, is not factual, is again, it looks like you watch the neighbor, what they're eating makes a difference to you, or watching them eat makes you full. What's the benefit it is to you to do that? So if you intellectualize it a little bit, look at it, you will see, look, you got to come to terms with the fact that this relationship is not actual, it's virtual. And this virtuality makes you do actual efforts, which is useless. So instead, life is short. Go find another boyfriend. Let this guy go. He had the chance. So what are you following him for? Let him be. Don't give a shit. Move on. That's all I have to say about that. Chinmay says, good day, sir. 19 male India. You may remember my story. I've been close to getting whacked by your ugly stick many times. The online relationship guy. Back then I was 17 and the opposition was 23. Opposition. 17 and 23, shame on you. I mean, I gotta get my ugly stick right away to bring to your attention that a 17-year-old boy has got nothing to do with a 23-year-old woman. Right? You'll be a putty in their hands. You have no chance. All right. And he says, so I learned from this woman's friend that she got a boyfriend very soon as she broke things off with me. There's nothing to break up, man. Don't fool yourself. 17, 23-year-old woman? Where's your head at? She'll eat you alive. You don't even know what's hitting you. You'll fall in love with her. And she's 23. It plays with you like you're a 17-year-old. You're going to run after her like a puppy. You shouldn't put yourself. Now you did, learn from it and move on. Turn out he also got her pregnant. I approached her regarding the poems she wrote on her Instagram. Turns out none of them were for me either. Oh, I told you that. Last conversation with her was on August 2020. Gathered the courage to block her, but the anger of feeling of betrayal won't leave me. What feeling of betrayal, man? It's like saying you walk into a private club that its rules are you got to be 21, or your credentials should be you have to have a PhD in something or graduate from university. And so you approach there, you apply for it, they don't let you in. Then you say, oh, I've been betrayed. You weren't qualified, let alone being betrayed. 17-year-old, you had no business going after 23-year-old woman. To you, she's a woman. But in reality, she's just a young girl trying to find her way in the universe. And obviously, you haven't learned about it. You're still following it. Instead of learning, look, I went to the wrong club and I didn't have enough money or credentials to be invited in. And that's fine. Who wants to be a member of a club that is not being invited to? You don't. Why should you? Go somewhere that you're appreciated and welcomed. So go find a 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 17-year-old, same age, a girl that you are. That's how you should do it. You can't expect to get a good result from a bad decision. This is your problem. You can't face with the fact that you made a bad decision, but you're wondering why I didn't get a good result. It's like saying, I ate shit and I wonder why I vomit. Why it's not nutritious. Why I'm not getting big muscles. Because you're eating shit. Go eat food that is going to be giving you the result you're looking for. That's all I have to say about that. Now, I Love Singing says, thank you, you're quite welcome. Alexander says, my therapist work with a therapy who is called EMDR, okay, therapy, but it is not worked. I have to more than 25 sessions. I stop now. I'm hopeless. No, you're not hopeless. You got to go to a specialist psychotherapist who's expert in ERP, or CBT, and that they know about OCD and so on and so forth, and they can help you. You go to these people who are not experts, and this is what you get. Yeah, that smile that you do, emo, is also coming from the brain. When the brain is malfunctioning, its reactions are also part of the malfunction. but you take their reaction as correct, but the topic that they're reacting to, you're questioning that, but you're not questioning the reaction that you're getting from the same brain that is malfunctioning. The reaction to the malfunctioning to you is acceptable, but you're actually aware of the malfunctioning brain. But the thought is coming from the same malfunctioning brain. So the thought is fucked up as well. That's why you smile or whatever it is that you do. And Mark says, hello, Mark, male 37 UK. Hello, Mark. Says, I have no question, just here for the company on my night walk. All right. Says, I clicked like, so I'm now a member. Okay. Thank you for that. And Mark says number 1000. Wow. Okay. Thank you. That makes my day. Mark. While you're doing the night walk, whatever it is you're doing, are you a security staff? You say in your night watch, or is you just walking at night, enjoying yourself? Night walk. Oh, night walk. Okay. I'll just keep on yelling. Mind that six truth YouTube channel. Take it now.